All right, what's up, everybody? Trent Hidley here. Got a kind of a fun topic, mentality-wise, to talk about. I get a lot of questions all the time, like, what do you do to prepare mentally for a wrestling competition, or what's your process of preparing for a match? And for me, I think, when I truly think about it, a lot of the work that I do mentally is done, way before I step on the mat and way before I get to a tournament. Um, I got this picture right here. This is Michael Macchiavello, one of my really good friends, a huge mentor for me. He's had a huge impact on my career. He was a national champion his senior year at NC State, and it was someone that I, trained with when I got to NC State and really helped me, get a lot better. And as far as wrestling, but also mentally as well. And there's a lot to learn from Mike's story. He um, started wrestling late, when he was in high school and wasn't a big recruit, didn't really know how to wrestle. And, he got to college and don't think he had a winning record for his first couple of years. And he just stayed very consistent and one of the toughest and most hardworking people that you'll ever meet. And when you do that, just so happens sometimes you win national championships, and that's for I could talk a million hours about his process to do that, but this video is focused on something that he told me the other day on the phone. So last weekend we were together at the NHSCA Nationals, and we were practicing a little bit, and obviously getting ready for the Olympic trials this next week. And I just come off the NCAA season. I lost in the finals, and I haven't been training freestyle. But we were just talking about the trials, and I said, the only thing I'm really focused on right now is to, do whatever I need to do to feel good and confident going into the tournament. There's not a ton of wrestling stuff that I can do. I think that'll make a huge difference between now and then. But just mentally, what's going to make me feel best? Well, I want to feel good. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel strong. I want to feel like I'm getting good reps and everything, and just be excited for the tournament. And he called me yesterday. After I was done practice, I was sitting at home, and he said, I was thinking about what you said about just feeling good, and I think there's a lot that goes into that. And so when you ask me, what do I do to prepare for a tournament? Well, at the basis of that is I want to feel good. I want to feel confident going into it. And he said, he had had a meeting with a sports psychologist, someone that he has worked with in the past. And he talked about, she said something along the lines of, when you were at your best your senior year and you were wrestling really well and you won the national tournament, you were setting and creating the conditions that were necessary for success before you stepped on the mat. So what does that mean? Well, creating the conditions necessary for success means that before in your preparation, you're putting everything in place so that whenever you do step on the mat, there's nothing else you need to think about or worry about. You've already done everything that you need to do, so you can feel confident that you just need to show up and compete. And I think that's super important because, when you're going into a competition, the last thing you want to have is, maybe regret over training or wish you would have did things differently, or, you're questioning how you feel. You want to have a completely a free mind, so there's nothing holding you back from just getting out there, enjoying the moment, and executing. So I think this, create the conditions necessary for yourself, and that's going to be different for Mike. It's going to be different for me. It's going to be different for everybody. But when you're in your preparation, when you're in your training, how can you create the conditions in your life and in your environment that'll set you up most optimally for success? And you don't need to look at this just as wrestling. He used the example of, if I want to get a really good night of sleep, I don't want to just wait until I lay in bed to start thinking about having a good night of sleep, right? I want to create the conditions necessary to have a good night of sleep. And that could be, putting your phone down 2 hours before, not eating and drinking a lot right before bed, reading a book, having tea, whatever makes you sleepy, whatever is your best nighttime routine. Well, then that's how you create those conditions, right? You set your conditions, you follow through on that, and then when it's time to go to sleep, you've already done all the work that you need to, and you don't have to stress about that. I think it's a good example for school, if you have a big test coming up, you obviously don't wait until the day of to start studying and preparing. You create the conditions necessary for success on a test by studying ahead of time, by being organized, by going to class every day, getting homework done on time, asking teachers questions ahead of time. And when you do that, that's you setting your conditions. Okay, I want to do good on this test. I'm going to set the conditions that I need. I'm going to follow through on that so that I can have a successful exam. So just to finish up, I think this is a super good piece of advice that Mike gave me. It's something that we had talked about. But overall, sometimes we overcomplicate things. Going into a competition, we try to align everything as much as possible. But at the end of the day, when you get there, you want to have a free mind. You want to be ready to just let it go and have fun and enjoy the moment. And how you can do that, like I said, create the conditions necessary for success. Set the conditions, set the standards that you want to do and live so that whenever it's time to train, it's time to practice, it's time to compete, or it's time to, step on the mat at the Olympic trials, you're ready to go, you feel confident, and there's nothing else that you need to think about because you had already prepared and did everything that you needed to do. So I hope this is, kind of useful and something that, kind of has been impacting me the past few days and is getting me motivated to train. So you want to show up, be a national champ, and win the Olympic trials. Create the conditions necessary for success beforehand, and then show up and compete hard. Thanks.